why is this training really so important? Some of y'all are here and you're here to figure out how to pay your bills for your family. Some of y'all are here to figure out how you can set yourself up for retirement for the future. And some of you guys are here to learn how to build a big business that can create, long-term stable income. But the start to all of that big long-term, picture in the future is you have to learn how to sell insurance. Okay, that's the start of it all. You guys are gonna learn today about how to lead from the front, because you'll never build a big agency here if you don't learn how to sell insurance. So today, other than one topic here today, is gonna be all about selling. Okay, we're gonna go very, very briefly on building an agency here at the end, how to do it at the same time as selling. But this entire thing is focused on how to sell insurance, how to help families. So real quick, just kind of as we get started, I'd love to just hear everybody's background, probably 2-3 minutes each. We'll start with Dean. Love for you to share your background, really what you were doing before FFL, how you heard about FFL, and how it changed your life.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you guys for allowing us to be here today. It's truly an honor to be able to pour back into everybody here. I started Family First Life in November of 2017. I heard about the business opportunity through a friend of mine, and he told me everything about FFL. And at first I thought it was like, what kind of scam is this? Because this does not exist anywhere. Don't put me in any of your pyramid scheme businesses, right? But overall, he explained to me how the process worked here, how we have a lead strategy with clients. Now, 4 years ago, we didn't have the resources we have now. So for everybody who's new, you guys are so blessed to have what we have available now. A lot of people would have not made it 4 years ago. It was a lot harder to get in front of people. And what I mean by that is a lot of counties were locked out. You couldn't get in front of people fast enough, and we didn't have internet final expense leads at that time. They slowly developed as time went on. Prior to FFL, I was working in sports supplement nutrition. My job was to foresee regional sales all across the country, well, actually national sales. Basically just introduce product lines to clients, and I had to really develop my own leads that way. Google search, look up stores on maps, do a bunch of heavy phone calls, and a lot of no's, but there was also yeses there. So at that point in time, it already taught me how to be self-driven, accountable, and of course consistent with the business, what I was doing. Unfortunately, that did not allow me to pay my bills. When I came into FFL, I came here with a very, very tight budget. I had a repossessed vehicle. Went through a lot of adversity in the first year, but with this opportunity, what it allowed me to do was I was able to change my life in just 3 short months, and the rest is history. So we're here now. So that's a little bit about my story.
All right. Well, I'm Darlene Moore out of Wilson, North Carolina. I came across FFL, I guess it was November of 2020. I am former restaurant industry. My husband and I have had a catering company for about 10 years. But as we all know, 2020 was hit hard when it came to the restaurant industry. So we were forced to pivot. We closed our restaurant. We both didn't have any stream of income coming in. And I just knew I needed to make the change. I knew I had the work ethic because I've always been working long hours, nights, weekends, holidays if I had to. I had the drive. I just didn't know a thing about insurance, but I kept hearing that, you didn't need to know that. You just needed work ethic. So had come across it. I think it was like ZipRecruiter or something like that. Clay Sweet was my first point of contact. And he was a former bartender. So I could relate to him. I could see how he didn't have any background in insurance and he was able to, succeed in the business. And then I got started right after convention. I was the only income earner in my house, so I really had to hit the ground running. And it's been the best thing for my family. I've always owned restaurants where it's been razor thin margins. You work really, really hard and you have nothing to show for it. So this is the first time I feel like we're getting ahead for my family. And, I'm pretty much the sole income earner right now. And, we're able to do really well. So it's been great.
I'm Robbie Wells, and I've been with Family First Life literally 2 years this month, and started with Family First Life in March of 2020, right when the pandemic hit our country. And my situation was very grim when I started with Family First Life. Now, if you go back before that, several years before, I'd been coaching college football. I coached at the University of South Carolina right here in this state, and then I coached at South Carolina State University. Even 1 year I was at Benedict, which is in Columbia as well. Was the head coach at Savannah State University, and but then got out of coaching back in 2010. I was doing some other things, had my own little business, just kind of kicking around. Lived here in Charlotte for a little bit back then then moved away, ran for office, and was self-funded. And then all of a sudden, in March of 2020, found myself living in my car with no money because I'd been self-funding everything. And I knew that something had to change. Aaron Lyles, good friend of mine, he said, "Hey, you need to look at what Dave Witchard is doing." He says, "You know Dave?" I said, "Yeah, I know Dave." He says, "Dave just started with this group called Family First Life, and he's really making a lot of money, and he's helping a lot of people." He says, "You ought to look at that." And I said, "I have nothing to lose." So literally, I drove halfway across the country back to Roanoke, Virginia. Took about 2 days to get there, and had less than $300 to my name when I started this business. Studied one day for the exam, took the exam the next day at a Pearson site, just like anybody else has to do, and passed it. And because I was hungry. And when you're hungry and you backed into a corner, you are very dangerous. You are dangerous to the economy. You are dangerous to your competitors, and I was dangerous. And so I came out swinging, okay? And as Babe Ruth would say, I was swinging for the fence. And I ended up knocking some over the fence. I learned very quickly that I didn't know anything about this business. I'd never been in sales per se. So there was a huge learning curve. But one thing that really, really helped me was the first 5 months. I stayed right there in Roanoke, getting my feet back under me and going into the office there and watching the best in the business, which was Dave Witchard. And literally, whatever Dave did, I did. Okay, I copied him on everything. I was like, if he's going to be successful, I'm going to find out why, and I'm going to do exactly that. And then branch out with my own, identity, which is exactly what I did, and it worked. So if you're just getting into this business, what I would advise anybody, find somebody that's been there and done that. Don't take advice from somebody that's going to tell you, oh, don't get into business. You're not going to do well at that. If they're going to tell you that, are they successful? Take advice from somebody that's very successful and pattern your business after somebody that's been there and done that.
Love it, dude. So Mike Curry, and live here in Charlotte. Used to, prior to FFL, I started here in December 2020, and I was doing appliance repair here in the Charlotte area, working on washers and dryers and stuff like that. And I knew Grady Polson from years ago from a network marketing business, and we kind of became friends through that. And I saw all the posts that you guys probably see with FFL America all over social media, and was never actually interested in getting into insurance. I had no idea what it was, and was content where I was. But I had a buddy who, his family have an insurance company or business up in Virginia, and I sent it to him, and he's like, "You should do it." And I just kind of laughed it off. And then probably about maybe 6 months after that, my daughter was born in July of 2020. I'm awful with years. And anyway, Grady had reached out, and he had a little girl at the same time. So we kind of talked about it. He sent me the overview video, agency overview video, and I watched it. And it kind of started as a joke. I told some friends and family that I was going to get my insurance license, and they laughed at me. and I would have too, because I've got my GED and never had anything outside of just a blue collar job. So went through, took about a month and a half to get through the course. I was probably the guy you guys would hate if you hired, and failed my test 3 times, and eventually passed it. Got going, and just as far as how my life has changed, it allowed me to bring Kate, my wife, home from work after about 4 months. And so she gets to stay home with our 2 kids. And I'm growing a team with some guys that I absolutely love. So,
Man. All right. Brandon Kitchings, South Carolina born and raised, currently reside in Phoenix, Arizona. And I found Family First Life in June of 2019. I was in the mortgage lending business with one of the biggest banks here in this country for over 12 years. And was just at a point in my life where I was just kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired, working 60, 70 hours a week, writing $40 million worth of loans a year and getting paid less than $84,000. It wasn't making sense. I have 6 kids, so $84,000 doesn't go a long ways with 6 kids. But made it work. And but I was at that point was again just sick and tired of being sick and tired. Wanted more. Wanted an opportunity to bet on myself. And truly get what I deserve. So started looking at insurance opportunities. And originally I was recruited by one of the companies that thinks they're our competitors. And I actually gave them a verbal commitment when I did the interview with them. It was talking about their comp. And but I didn't know a whole lot about the insurance industry at that time. So I reached out to one of my fellow coworkers that I knew that had some experience with insurance to run it by him, and he was telling me, if you're looking to get into insurance, you need to look at FFL. And I'm like, the NFL? He's like, no, FFL. He's like, no, FFL. He's like, let me send you this video. Check this video out, and he sent that to me. And like Dean, first time I saw it, I'm like, no way. This is not real. Like nobody's, no company is treating people that good. And so he was like, let me come to my house. Let me show you some things. So I went to go sit with him. He opened up his bank account and showed me some deposits. And that did it for me. I'm like, okay, so what do I have to do? And like, he said, hey, you got to take the test, pass the test. We can train you and get you started. Right then and there, I was like, okay, jumped in, started studying. That first week trying to study while I was still working, a traditional schedule with them and taking care of my kids. I was finding myself falling asleep at the computer, 30 minutes into studying. So I went to my wife, and it was actually a test. I told her, I was like, hey, I know I can do this, but I think I'm going to have to quit the bank first. Just seeing what she would say. And she looked at me and she said, do what you got to do. She said, I trust you. She was like, do what you got to do. If you feel like you need to quit so that you can pass this test, do what you got to do. And right then and there, I put my 2-week notice in, let those 2 weeks go by. Once I got out, I would take my kids to school each morning, come back home, sit at the kitchen table, and I was in school while they were in school. 10 days later, I passed the test and never looked back, and this opportunity has definitely changed my family's life all the way around the board. I've been able to retire my wife from that same bank, 4 months later as well. It's like a good number, right? But I was able to retire her from the bank. She joined me here. She had no aspirations of doing any of this until she went to an appointment with me one day and just saw the actual process that we were doing. And within 15 minutes, I was able to make what she make, in 2 weeks. And she was like, I think I can do this. So she came on board, part-time and again, was able to work her out. So, the fact that, we were able to get this started right before the pandemic, man, it was a blessing to us because with our kids, being homeschooled, when everything started, it was just perfect timing. Because I don't know how we would have got through it with, with my wife having to work a job and me doing this and kids being at home learning. So it just really was a blessing for my family. And I thank God every day for, Sean, Mike, and Family First Life.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. And again, I'm Jamie. I'm 28 years old, and I live in Albany, Oregon with my wife there in the back, Katie, and our beautiful 7-month-old boy, Nehemiah. And I got started in this industry now about 1.5 years ago. My previous background was in digital marketing and network marketing. I did that for about 10 years and found my way into this business. Not as the first thing that I thought that I'd be doing in life. I don't think anybody ever wakes up and says, I want to be an insurance agent when I grow up. That definitely was not me whatsoever. I had aspirations of building big teams in network marketing, did that for quite a few years. Different circumstances happened that some of those teams were taken away from me. Some of those companies weren't there anymore. Spent a few years just kind of jumping from opportunity to opportunity, finding like what's the next like trendy business that I can do and try to make money. Was like a professional middleman for a long time, just kind of brokering random, digital marketing deals and, taking a cut of the middle wherever I could. And that's a stressful way to live when, I need to get a client or broker a deal to make our next paycheck. And, my wife and I got together, handful of years ago, and she was a teacher for 8 years up until recently. We also brought her home, and she was at one point when I was playing my entrepreneurial dreams, she was the breadwinner. And, I was kind of the house husband, building my entrepreneur dreams on the side. And it's just so cool to kind of see how that's been able to flip for us. And I've been kind of able to move into more of a provider role. That's something that I really desired for myself. In regards to, FFL, I actually came here and I did not become an agent right away. I was a staff member first. So Grady Polson, I was his marketing director for about 6 months. And then due to the pandemic, we lost half of our income when they didn't know how many kids were going to be coming back to school with my wife's job. So I said, I need to replace that income. I need to get us some health insurance as quickly as possible. If I can just keep working my full-time job and sell 2 policies a week, I will take care of her income and get us some health insurance. And then my first weekend in the field, I was able to help 8 families. And that doesn't happen for everybody. A disclaimer is for some people, they start really slow and some people start really fast. For me, I had a heart to serve people and that came through obviously. And I was able to help 8 families my first weekend and the light bulb kind of went off for me. And I said, okay, insurance, this can absolutely be the place for me. And I had no intention of ever building a team here. I just wanted to sell insurance and not even tell anybody about it. And then through the changes that happened in our lives, people started reaching out, and it's become about 150 agents now, and we've been able to come out here and have this training, and everybody here, we're not all necessarily on the same team, but we all work together. It's all one big team, Family First Life. So thank you guys again for coming out.